We would like to welcome you to the W.I. Burns Middle School's virtual Black History Month celebration. Every February, America observes a special occasion called Black History Month. This observance serves as a time to remember and celebrate many amazing accomplishments of African Americans and their importance to our country's history. Black History Month began in 1926 as Negro History Week, a week in celebration observed in mid-February in 1978. It was expanded to become Black History Month, and now it stands for a wonderful tribute to the many African Americans who served and graced our country's history. Sit back and relax and enjoy our presentation.
Please stand for the pledge. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may tromp me in the very dirt, but still like dust I'll rise. Does my sassiness object to you? Why are you best with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like the moon and like the suns with certainty of tide, just like hope springing high, still I rise. Do you want to see me broken, bowed head and lower eyes? Shoulders falling down like teardrops weakened by my soulful cries. Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard? 'Cause I laugh like I got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the hunts of history's shame I rise, up from the past that rooted in pain I rise. I'm a black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise, and to daybreak that wondrously clear I rise. Bring the gifts that my ancestors gave. I'm the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise.
Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. And before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. And before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. God Almighty, God Almighty, God Almighty over me. And before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. No more weeping, no more weeping, no more weeping over me. And before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. And before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. And go home to my Lord and be free. And go home to my Lord and be free.
A is for Africa, the birthplace of humanity and civilization, and the second largest continent in the world.
B is for Barack Obama, the first African American president of the United States.
C is for the Civil Rights Acts, the 1964 law that ended segregation in public places and employment discrimination on the basis of identity.
D is for Dred Scott, an enslaved black man who unsuccessfully appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court his freedom in 1857.
E is for emancipation. President Abe Lincoln freed millions of enslaved people when he issued the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863.
F is for Freedom Riders, civil rights activists who took bus trips called Freedom Rides through the South in 1961 to protest segregated bus terminals.
G is for the Greensboro Four, the North Carolina ant freshmen who sat at the whites-only lunch table to protest segregation. The act sparked nationwide sit-ins.
H is for the Harlem Renaissance, the intellect, social, and arts explosion that occurred in Harlem, other northern cities, and Paris that expanded in the 1920s.
I is for Ida B. Wells, an educator and journalist who fought against racism, lynching, and sexism. She was also one of the founders of the NAACP.
J is for Jackie Robinson, the first African American to play Major League Baseball in the modern era. He joined the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1947.
K is Katherine Johnson, a mathematician for NASA whose calculations were critical for the success of the first U.S. manned spaceflight.
L is for Little Rock 9, the 9 students who integrated Little Rock Central High School in 1957. The U.S. Army protected the students from violence.
M is for Martin Luther King Jr., the most prominent figure of the civil rights movement who led peaceful protests against racial inequality in America.
N is for the NAACP, the civil rights organization founded in 1909 to ensure the political, educational, social, and economic equality of all people.
O is for Oprah Winfrey, a media executive, philanthropist, actress, talk show host, TV producer, and North America's first black multi-billionaire.
P is for Phyllis Wheatley, an enslaved West African who was sold to a family in Boston. She would later become the first published black female poet.
Q is for Lloyd Quarterman, one of the few black scientists to work on the Manhattan Project, a top-secret effort to build the atomic bomb for World War II.
R is for Rosa Parks, an actress who refused to give up her seat to a white writer on a segregated bus. This helped spark the Montgomery bus boycott.
S is for Shirley Chisholm, the first black woman elected to Congress and the first woman to run for the Democratic Party's presidential nomination.
T is for Thurgood Marshall, a lawyer who won several important cases before the Supreme Court, before becoming the first black Supreme Court justice.
U is for Underground Railroad, a network of secret routes and safe houses used by enslaved people to escape to free states, in Canada with the aid of allies.
V is for the Voting Rights Act, the landmark piece of federal legislation enacted in 1965 to protect voting rights for racial minorities, especially in the South.
W is for Wilma Rudolph, the athlete who overcame polio, racism, and sexism, and became the first African American woman to win 3 gold medals in a single Olympics.
X is for Xavier University. Xavier University of Louisiana is a liberal art college that is the only historically black Roman Catholic college institution in the U.S.
Y is for York, an enslaved man who participated in the Lewis and Clark expedition across the western U.S. as an explorer and hunter.
Z is for Zora Neale Hurston, an author, anthropologist, and central figure of the Harlem Renaissance whose work highlighted racial struggles in the South.
We hope you enjoyed our presentation, The ABCs of Black History Month. We hope you learned something you did not know about the accomplishment of prominent African American figures. Thank you for joining us.